A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, today we are studying Surah Deen, which is the 95th Surah of the Quran. Surah has been made extremely controversial over time, especially by its mention of the words Deen and Zaytun. And these have been translated and interpreted into many different ways. People who have criticized the layout of the Quran and the speech of the Quran, they say that they cannot see any connection between the first ayah and the second and the third ayah of this surah. Then the fourth and the fifth ayah, which describes the human being as being very perfect and straight and then degraded down, that has created a lot of controversy too. Some people say that it is about the physical appearance of the human being, aging process, and others have said no, it's about the moral degradation of the human being. This surah has been my personal favorite and I've studied it for literally decades. And to me, what's most interesting and exciting is that this surah touches on the science of psychology and psychiatry and human nature. And usually people often think that whatever is proven by science, Muslims, they find it in the Quran and they highlight it and say, look, this is scientific evidence which has been shown in the Quran, and this proves the Quran is the word of God and is the truth. But here I'll tell you something. Today we are going to talk about the Quranic interpretation of human psychology and psychiatry and human behavior, which is at total 180 degree opposite to the modern scientific understanding or misunderstanding of human nature. So inshallah, we are going to discuss the Quranic theory of human psychology and human nature, which I assure you has got such strong evidence backing that inshallah in the very near future, this Quranic theory is going to revolutionize and change the current understanding of human nature and psychology. So let's start with the first three ayahs. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wat-teen wa zaytun. Consider the fig and the olive. Wa-tur sinin, and Mount Sinai. وَهَذَا الْبَلَدِ الْأَمِينَ, and this land secure, or this city of peace and security. Very start of the surah, and Allah Ta'ala has thrown a big challenge and people have taken up that challenge, and the criticism and the controversy start from here. What is the fig and the olive doing with Mount Sinai and the city secure? We know that Balad al-Amin, city of peace, the land of security, is Makkah and the Haram area around it. But why Teen and Zaytun, fig and olive, and then talking about Mount Sinai, and then talking about the city of Makkah? How do these four things connect to each other? And a lot of Western scholars who are studying Quran and criticizing it, they say this is a problem they find in the Quran, that they can't see things connecting in many ayahs. It's like abrupt transition from one topic to another. Now, I got so interested and obsessed with Wat-teen wa Zaytun that I went looking into the old Tafsir of the Mufassirin, and alhamdulillah, I found 19 different scholars from older times who have commented on it. So I'll give you a quick summary. There are two schools of thought. One says that Wat-teen wa Zaytun means figs and olives, and that's it, the two fruits. People have talked about it and they've praised the fig and olive, and yes, they are wonderful fruits, and people have overdosed on figs and olives, and I know people who do not like the taste, but they would deliberately eat lots of olives and figs because they're mentioned in the Quran. And especially with figs, I've seen them having upset stomachs and hyperactivity of the bowel after having a lot of figs. But people do it religiously. Because they're mentioned in the Quran, there must be something special about them. And yes, both of these fruits, they're a very important source of vitamins and minerals, no doubt about it. And the ulama and the mufassirin who believe that yes, it is about the fruits of the trees of olive and fig, there are some very important names. Hasan Basri, Ikrama, Ata bin Abi Rabah, Jabir bin Zayd, Mujahid, Ibrahim Tahayi, Ibn Hatim. All of these, they believe that yes, it is just fig and olive. But there's a second school of thought. And these people say that no, Wat-teen and wa Zaytun does not mean just fig and olive. It means two places, two different places. Because among Arabs, there was this ancient tradition that if some place had a lot of fruit of particular kind, they would name that place after that fruit. Sounds a bit weird and confusing, but it's not. I'll give you modern day examples. There is a country called Kazakhstan. The biggest city in Kazakhstan, which used to be the capital before but is not anymore, is known as Almaty. Originally, the name was Almatau. Tau means mountain and Alma means apple. Now, Almaty has got 50 plus varieties of wild apples around it. In fact, it is thought that the apple tree originated from region of Almaty. And the Russian version of Almatau became Alma-Ata and then Almaty. But even today, if you refer to Alma, it would mean apple and the city around which there are more than 50 different varieties of wild apples, the largest city in Kazakhstan. There's another country in the world known as America. You might have heard of it more than Kazakhstan. And it has a state called California. And in California, there's an area known as Orange County. And the reason why it's called Orange County, because it grows lots of orange. In the same country of United States of America, there is a city called New York. And this city is often referred to as the Big Apple. So to an American, if you say the Big Apple, they know it's New York City. So similarly to the ancient Arab, when you said teen or fig, that meant Syria and the region of Damascus. And Zaytun meant the area of Palestine around Jerusalem, Baytul Muqaddas they called it. Just outside of the city of Jerusalem is the Olive Mountain. And Jesus went on that mountain and he delivered a very famous sermon. And the teen, the fig, also refers to the mountain where the ship of Nuh al-Islam landed, the Koh Judi, the mountain of Judi, or Mount Ararat in some cases is considered to be at the border of Armenia and Turkey. So many scholars who include Kabe Ahbar, Qatada, Ibn Zayd, they consider that Watin refers to the place where Nuh al-Islam came, and he even made a mosque on the mountain where his ship had landed. And Wazaytun means the place where Isa al-Islam went and he did his preaching, especially delivered his sermon. Now I want to tell you something very interesting. Now listen this. This is a very interesting story. There are two people, Ibn Abi Hatim and Hakim. They say that they heard Hazrat Abdullah ibn Abbas, who is a very big authority on the Tafseer of Quran, that Abdullah ibn Abbas said that Watin wa Zaytun means the fig and the olive. And he's a big authority. But hold on. The same Ibn Abi Hatim with another narrator, Ibn Marduya, says that they heard Ibn Abbas say that teen or fig means the mosque which was made on Mount Judi by Nuh al-Islam, Prophet Nuh, and Zaytun or olive means the city of Jerusalem. Now you would ask me, this is confusing. Ibn Abbas is saying that teen and Zaytun means fig and olive. Ibn Abi Hatim heard that and Hakim heard that. And then the same Ibn Abi Hatim heard it with another one, Ibn Marduya, that he says, no, these are places. That is the mountain of Judi and it is the city of Jerusalem. And here is where we get a lot of misunderstandings about Islam and Quran. When we see two different accounts, we either go for one or the other. What Ibn Abbas is saying is that both meanings are meant in this surah. Watin wa Zaytun means the fig and the olive, but also means the places which were known as fig and olive. So the Mount Judi, which has very large amount of trees of figs, was called Deen, and Jerusalem and the Baytul Muqaddas region, which had lots of olive trees, was often referred by Arabs as the olive. And especially the mountain on which Isa al-Islam did his sermon was called Mount Olive. And I'm not the only one to say this. Many other Mufassirin, Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn al-Qayyim, Zamakhshari and Alusi, they have agreed with it. They said both of those meanings stand true. And Ibn Jarir and Hafiz ibn Kasir, they also accept it. And this is the key to understanding Islam and Quran. Many things in the Quran, the one word is referring to more than one thing. And I give you examples from today's life. If I tell you I love apple, you can interpret it into two ways. Number one, I love apple the fruit. Number two, I love the company which makes computer products known as Apple. And then you can argue about it. We can divide into two groups. Half of the group says that Dr. Khan, he likes Apple the fruit. He doesn't like the Apple company. And the other group would say, well, Dr. Khan, he likes Apple the company, which makes the mobile phone. We've seen him using his mobile phone and laptop. So yeah, he loves the company. But if people would come and ask me, do you like Apple the fruit or Apple the company? My answer would be both. And when I say I love Apple, I mean both. And this is exactly what Ibn Abbas was explaining to the people. But those who heard the first part of the explanation, this went with it and said it is only the fruit which is mentioned in the Quran. And those who heard the later part of the explanation, they went with it and said, no, it is only the places. Fortunately, Ibn Abi Hatim heard both, and he said both of them stand true. Now let's start from the beginning, and the first three ayahs would make more sense to us. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wat-Teen wa-Zaytoon. Consider the place where Nuh alayhi salam landed and made a place of worship, the Mount of Judi, and the place where Isa alayhi salam delivered his sermons, Wa-Tur Sinin, and the mountain of Sinai where Musa alayhi salam, Prophet Moses, received his 10 commandments and spoke to God. وَهَذَا الْبَلَدِ الْأَمِينَ, and this land secure, or this city of peace, or this city of security, where Ibrahim alayhi salam established the house of worship for Allah with Ismail alayhi salam, and where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is now preaching. So what Allah is saying, all of these great prophets, consider them. Consider Nuh alayhi salam, consider Isa alayhi salam, consider Musa alayhi salam, consider Ibrahim alayhi salam, and consider them for what? لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. Indeed, we create man in the best form. So these four places are witness to four prophets and their teachings. And those four prophets are an example of Allah creating human beings in the best form. Ayah number 4 is the main theme of this surah. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. This surah, I wonder if it could have been called Surah Al-Insan, because it is describing the creation and nature of insan. And there's also a saying that if you look at Quran and read all of it, every book has a topic. The topic of Quran is insan, human. So ayah number 4, let's go word by word. Laqad. La means for sure, verily, indeed. Qad, already, something already done. Khalaqna, we created. This is the royal we, which means power and absolute control. Fi means in. Ahsan means something which is perfect and beautiful, outside and inside. So physically and abstract, in every sense, which is well balanced. Taqweem is to take multiple components and combine them and balance them and design something perfectly and design it straight. Kama in Arabic is to stand. Kawama is also used for a spear, because the spear is straight. And something which is straight and balanced, we call it taqweem. So Allah Ta'ala is saying that I have created human beings in the most straight, upright, balanced form. They are not only physically upright, and it is very important to see that among all the creatures in the world, on this planet Earth, the only creature which stands straight and walks straight is human beings. Other creatures don't do that. There are creatures which can stand straight for a while. Bears can do that, monkeys can do that, meerkats can do that, but soon they go down on 4. The only creature, if you are an extraterrestrial and you come to this planet from outside, the first thing you'll see is that among all the creatures in the world, there's one which stands out. Human beings. They're different from others. You'll tell, this is a different species, this is a totally different, unique creature. So physically, humans stand straight. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. But Allah has just given us examples of 4 important prophets and said the way they were morally upright and straight. That's how human beings have been created. Not that they become like this. They are created on this nature. And I love this part. Here is where Islamic interpretation of human nature goes head on with the scientific and modern interpretation by the psychologists and the scientists. Modern science says that human behavior has got nothing good in it. We've got nothing good in us. We are like animals, worse than animals. Science says that human behavior is actually developed in response to many things. Number 1 is self-preservation. You want to survive. So whatever will help you survive, you're going to do that. Okay, so if something is a danger to your life, no matter how morally good it is, you're not going to adopt it. You're going to go against it because you want to survive. Then Freud comes over and Freud says, and thank God most of his theories have already been proven wrong, he says that the driving force for human behavior is sexuality and a desire to reproduce. And he says everything is lust and sex. Even he says the parent and child relationship has an element of sexuality and lust subconsciously. Now, thank God modern science says that is not true. Then the scientists say that it's societal pressure and standards set by the society which drive our behavior. And these are the external forces which restrain us and make us good and trustworthy and truthful. You take away these forces and we have uninhibited animal behavior. According to scientists, psychologists, psychiatrists, people who have studied the human mind and behavior, they say morality and the concept of right and wrong is acquired. And it is relative. It changes. What is moral in this country is not moral in another country. What is moral to you is not moral to me. It's based on heritage, social pressures, on traditions, and it changes with time. With changing times, our morality changes. But Allah says, no, that's not right. We are all moral from the day we are born. We have it all in us. What Ibrahim alayhi salam, Musa alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam, and Nuh alayhi salam had, we have it all within us. All the prophets, what they had, we have it with us. And he says, take the example of these prophets. Concept number 1, self-preservation. Well, Ibrahim alayhi salam, he stood up to his people, to the society, against the societal pressures, and he said, God is one. I'm not going to worship idols. And they said, throw him in the fire. And they said, look, we're going to burn you. Do you want to change your statement? He said, no. Musa alayhi salam challenged the Pharaoh. And the Pharaoh, he said, I'll kill you and all your tribe. I'll wipe you off the face of this earth. Self-preservation says that Musa alayhi salam should have bowed to the pressure. He should have made some kind of compromise at least with the Pharaoh. He said no. He stood straight and his people stood with him. And he went to Mount Sinai and he spoke to Allah and got the commandments. So he went against the pressure of the society. He went against the concept of self-preservation. Nuh alayhi salam had only 80 people on his side after 800 years. There were only 80 people believing in God. And his people wanted to destroy him and they were ready to wipe him and his followers off the face of earth. Self-preservation said Nuh alayhi salam should have succumbed to the pressure. He did not. He stood against all odds. And same happened with Isa alayhi salam. How much resistance did Jesus have? Unbelievable. And they wanted him to conform to the norms of the society, to the relative morality, to the acquired concept of morality. And he said, no, I'll stick to the concept of morality, which is inherent in me and which comes from God. But now the question comes, what would support the Quranic argument in modern science? So let's summarize. Modern science and psychologists, they say human beings are born bad, without any morality, without any concept of good or bad. And later on, according to self-preservation, pressure in the society, acquired moralities and laws of the land, they start to develop a behavior which might be good, which may not be good. Quran says, and Islam says, Kullu mawludun awladu alal fitra. All the babies who are born, all the children who are born, they are born on their nature. And the nature is Islam. The nature is peace. The nature is good. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ fi ahsani taqweem. So let's look at the babies. There's something very strange about the human baby, which is not found in other babies, which is different from babies of other species and animals. If you study the human baby behavior, and it's been done in a lot of trials, a baby under the age of 1 year doesn't even know that he exists as an individual. He doesn't have that mental capacity. He doesn't have the neocortex developed. He doesn't know that he is a different kind of individual from the rest of the world. So you have a baby, you're feeding the baby, you're tickling him, you are singing to the baby, and the baby is happy and laughing. But while the baby is happy and fed and laughing, if the baby would hear, suddenly the baby would start crying. And it doesn't make any sense. The baby is not hungry. He's happy. But when the baby is hearing another infant crying, they are crying. And this is known as sympathetic distress. And two German scholars, Dr. Rudolf Hermann Lotzer, who's a pioneer of psychology and a doctor, and Robert Wischer, who's a German philosopher, they studied this and they gave it a name. They called it Einfühlung. Now, Einfühlung means, in German, Ein means into and Fühlung means feeling. So this is translated into English as empathy. And it is defined as the capacity to understand or feel what another person is experiencing from within their frame of reference. So capacity to place yourself into another person's position. So human babies are born with it. In other animals, you don't find it. In other animals, their babies don't have it. Even later in life, some animals don't develop it. There are animals who eat their own young ones. Snakes, they eat their own young ones. When they see that they become sort of a threat to them, or they can compete with them for food resources, they eat them. Lions and other animals would kill their male children because they think they would compete with them for females and for food. On the contrary, for the human being, the empathy feeling keeps on developing more and more and becomes more evident as we grow older. By the year of 1, the child starts to imitate distress of others to better comprehend it. For example, if a child has hurt his finger, another child would put his finger in his mouth and bite on it. It's called motor mimicry, to see what pain feels like. So you're trying to feel the other person's pain. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. And when he grows even older, he develops comforting techniques. So a child is crying and another toddler will go to him and he will try to help him, distract him, give him toys, ask him not to cry. He would seek his mother or his sister and bring them and say, baby crying, make him stop. Physical comfort him, giving him a hug, touching him. Sometimes would even give threats. Stop crying or I'll hit you. And the funny thing is, most of the time the other child is crying because of this child. He's stolen his toy or said something nasty or hit him. But as soon as he sees him crying, empathy comes. Why? لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. And when they grow older, like you and me, then we have empathic distress and empathic anger. You look at the news and women and children are being killed, your blood pressure shoots up. You're not killing them. They're not your family, but your blood pressure is shooting up. You become angry. You start swearing at the TV. You start swearing at the perpetrators of those actions, although it is not affecting you. And this is what Quran says. Where is the self-preservation in this? Where is the sexuality and the lust that Freud describes? Where is the desire to reproduce in it? Where is the societal pressure? Where is the acquired morality and the changing spectrum of morality? And empathy, remember, is not sympathy. Sympathy is the perception of understanding and reacting to other person's distress or need. Empathy is feeling the same pain. Now let's move to the next ayah, ayah number 5. Summa radadnahu asfala safilin. And thereafter we reduce him to the lowest of the low. Let's go word by word. Summa. Summa means over a period of time. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens over a period of time. Radadnahu. Ar-rad means to reject. Rad karna in Urdu. To reject something based on the fact that it is unacceptable. Something becomes unacceptable, you reject it. Summa radadnahu. So Allah says, we rejected him. based on unacceptable behavior. Asfala safilin is the lowest of the low. Sifla means a low life, a lowly person. Safil is someone who's low in dignity and status. So Allah Ta'ala is saying that over a period of time, when his behavior becomes unacceptable, we reject him. Allah rejects him from being that superior being which was created on the ahsan taqweem to asfala safilin, lowest of the low. And how does that happen? That is something which develops over time in humans, and you call it apathy. Apathy is lack of feeling, emotion, interest or concern about something, indifference. And then there's a worse thing known as antipathy, which is voluntary or involuntary dislike for something or somebody. This is associated with psychopaths and sociopaths. And when human beings become antipathic, it is very dangerous. So you have one human being who was born and he had this sympathy for other babies when they cried, and as a toddler had the sympathy, and when he grows older, he watches the news, somebody is bombing another place and killing innocent women and children, and his blood pressure rises, he gets angry. That is the height of humanity. But when the same person sees somebody getting killed and he said, good, they deserve it because they belong to a nation, they belong to a people that I don't agree with or I don't like, or we were at war with, so let their women and children suffer, let the innocent suffer. That is antipathy. That is asfala safilin. You see that animal, the snake and the lion, who are killing their own children, and here you have human beings which are not killing people because there's a scarcity of food. They're not killing because they're in competition with them for survival, but they're killing because they just hate them. And how are they killing? Dropping nuclear weapons on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, wiping out hundreds of thousands of people. There are no creatures in the world, even the worst of the worst. The shark, a very hungry shark, would also not go on a rampage of killing hundreds of thousands. Even dinosaurs did not do that. Even lions and tigers and snakes do not do that, go on biting and killing people by the hundreds and the thousands. They would not. Only humans would. So what happens? Even the lowest of the lowliest creatures, the snakes, or even lower than that, we stoop even lower than them. We become asfala safili. So what can avoid this from happening? And ayah number 6 talks about it. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ فَلَهُمْ أَجْرٌ غَيْرُ مَمْنُونٍ. Except those people who attain to faith and do good works, and theirs shall be a reward unending. This is a very important concept. It's not just having the faith. You have to do good deeds. And this reminds me of a discussion I had with my daughter when she was 5 years old. I was telling her about Shaitan, Satan, and Adam and Eve, and she asked me a brilliant question. And kids, they come up with these excellent questions, which we elders probably don't think of because our thought process is inhibited by fear and what people might think and people might say. She said to me, she said, Shaitan, Satan, devil, does he believe in Allah? And I said, yeah, of course he does. He knows there is Allah. He's talked to Allah. Allah has spoken to him, given him messages and orders. So yeah, of course he believes in Allah. Even if he says he doesn't believe, he believes in his heart more than you and me. And then she said, does he believe in the prophets? And I said, yeah, he's seen all the prophets come. He has seen them preach and he knows Allah has sent angels to them. So yeah, he believes in the prophets. And he said, does he believe in the Quran? I said, yeah, of course. He's seen the Quran come down to the first heaven. He's seen all the security measures, extra security measures, which stopped him and his followers from accessing information. So yeah, of course he believes in the Quran. And then she said something very interesting. She said, then is he a Muslim? And I just reflexively said, no, he's not. And she said, why not? He fulfills the criteria. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. He knows he should be a Muslim. And that was an enlightenment moment for me. That you cannot be a Muslim just by accepting the faith unless you do the good deeds and you work on it. So, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Only Iman is not going to help you. It has to be translated into good deeds. And that's what I told my daughter. I said, well, he refuses to follow the orders of Allah. Believing in Allah and the Prophet and the Quran is meaningless if you do not act on them. And the second part of the ayah even makes it more interesting. فَلَهُمْ أَجْرٌ غَيْرُ مَمْنُونَ. For them is a never-ending reward. Falahum means only they have for them. And mamnoon comes from the word man. Man means two things in Arabic. One is favor and the second is to cut. So al-munin al-ghaba means a dust cloud that cuts off your vision. So if you have a lot of dust storm is there and you can't see, cuts it off, it's known as man. And then asking a favor is also a man. So ghayru mamnoon means it's a reward which is unending, would never be cut, continuously coming to you, and you don't have to do anything for it. So see, you do the good deeds now, and then you get a reward which keeps on coming even when you stop doing the good deeds. In modern day, we call it a pension. So you work for so many years, 20, 30 years, you get a salary. But then you stop working, but based on the work you've done, you get a continuous salary, غَيْرُ مَمْنُون, which is not cut, and you are not expected to return the favor. That is ajru غَيْرُ مَمْنُون. Here's the next question. Why do you have to be a Muslim to do good deeds? Can you not do good deeds without being a Muslim? Yes, you can. And then why wouldn't you not be rewarded when you do good deeds when you are not Muslim? Well, you would be, but the reward would be higher as a Muslim. But why is it higher as a Muslim and not as a non-Muslim? That doesn't sound fair. But in fact, it is very fair. Let me give you an example. You have a hospital. People are employed in the hospital. But some people come for voluntary work. They come and they help in the hospital. They're appreciated. They get a certificate, experience certificate. They might even get some money. They might get some compensation. They might get free food. Because the voluntary work is non-obligatory. So they come, they are happy, they want to join in, young people coming from different parts of the city, different professions, retired people come and help in the hospital. But then there are people who are employed by the hospital. They're in a full-time job. They come in every day obligatory and you can see their faces. Some of them are tired, they don't want to be there, but they're dragging themselves to work. The volunteers are always smiling and happy, because if they don't want to come tomorrow, they won't come tomorrow. Fine. But this one who's in the full-time job, was worked already 20 years, got another 10 before his pension, is dragging himself or herself in. They have to come to work, whether they like it or not. Work 9 to 5. Like a Muslim, pray 5 times a day, whether you like it or not. Sleepy, get up, pray Fajr. Your mind is elsewhere, have to do it. Why? Obligation. You made a commitment. So when that person who works in the hospital for 30 years, 9 to 5, obligatory work, when that person retires, he would get a pension. Ajru ghayrun mamnoon. He won't be working anymore, still getting the ajr, still getting the reward. And that would never be cut off. But the person who did voluntary work, they can't show up and say, where's my pension? They say, you won't have a pension. You got the reward for the time you worked. We can acknowledge you, but even if we do acknowledge you, it can't be the same compared to the person who's done a full-time obligatory work. So the difference between the reward of a Muslim and a non-Muslim is the same, which is the difference between obligatory and non-obligatory good deed. Muslims do good deeds even when they don't feel like it. They fast when they don't feel like it. They give charity when they don't want to give their charity. They want to buy a new phone, but no, I'll give charity. It is Ramadan, it is zakat time, it is time for qurbani. I have to give to the poor. He'll do it even if he doesn't feel like it. And that's why their reward is unlimited. They get a pension. And those who do non-obligatory work, they are acknowledged and rewarded by Allah, but their reward is limited, especially in comparison to the believers. And ayah number 7, فَمَا يُكَذِّبُكَ بَعْضُ بِالدِّينِ. What then, O man, could henceforth cause thee to give a lie to this moral law? In simpler words, now what makes you deny the final judgment? So what causes people to disbelieve in the Prophet and the Day of Judgment after all of this? Allah says, I have explained to you the human nature, the ups and downs, the two extremes, even the system of reward. And after all of this, what could make you reject this? Yukazzibuka means to lie against you. So it's also saying to the Prophet that What makes them lie against you and reject you? Ba'du means after this, and bid-deen is in regard to the deen. The word deen means judgment, like the judgment day. It's a comprehensive word. And also teachings in this life and the hereafter. And the last ayah, Alayhisallahu bi ahkamil hakimin. Is not Allah the most just of judges? This is a simple translation, because ahkam al-hakimin, the two words, they can be used in four meanings. Ahkam is coming from hukam, which means judgment, rulership, but hikam also means wisdom. So both judgment and wisdom are here. So when you say ahkam al-hakimin, it means wisest of the wise, or the best judge among the wise, and also means most appropriate judge among the wise, and the most appropriate judge among all the judges. So just two words, and what a beautiful word play. Allah Ta'ala has conveyed four major meanings out of it. And there's a hadith by Imam Ahmed, also in Tirmidhi and Abu Dawood, Ibn Munzir, Bahiki, Hakim, and Ibn Marduya. They have said that they heard from Abu Huraira that whenever the Prophet ﷺ, he used to recite this, alayhi sallahu bi ahkamil hakimin, he told the Muslims to say, Bala wa anna ala zalika min ash-shahidin. And yes, and I am a witness to this fact. In some other hadith, it has been said, Subhanaka fa bala wa anna ala zalika min ash-shahidin. And now me and you are a witness to it. Going through Surah Deen, knowing the meaning, understanding the message in it, we are a witness to the fact that yes, Allah is the Ahkam al-Hakimin. And as I said, this is a revolutionary thing. We always say that science proves something and Muslims find something in the Quran and correlate it. No. Today, we've discussed something which is heads-on, 180 degree against the current scientific understanding and concept of human nature and psychology. And inshallah, you'll see with the time to come and more development in our understanding of human nature, the description of Quran, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ, of empathy, and ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ سَافِلِينَ, of apathy and antipathy, is going to become the standard understanding of human nature, inshallah. May Allah enable us to convey the message of Quran to all of His creatures. Ameen summa ameen. And once again, thank you for everyone, all those who are listening, all those who contribute, especially to Yasser Salim, who does a lot of hard work making the videos and uploading them. And again, I'll thank to one of the unnamed contributors, and that person has specially requested not to mention the name, but that person has been pivotal to the understanding and the tafsir of this surah. In fact, I'm in debt to the person for starting the whole series of tafsir. So the tafsir system I'm doing, it is under advice and recommendation of that person, and I pray to Allah that Allah shower His blessings, His love and reward for the person who initiated me, encouraged me to start this process, and for everyone else, all of us and all of His creatures. Ameen summa ameen. Inshallah, next Jummah we will study another surah of the Quran. Till then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Please remember everyone in your prayers.